Well, hello. What's this? Hello, everyone. Today, we're coming back with another SpaceGodzilla video. You know, getting done with all of his sculpting details and whatnot. Gonna add a few details to the chest. I've been trying to... I think I've managed to locate that, that thing I was referencing. I think it's like a custom figure that someone made. I had a pretty good memory of it, but I rather like it. Like, I would like to look at it more. I have my own concept art for this creature, of course, but I don't know, theirs has some neat qualities too. Some of which. I did have a hard time though. I don't know why this is, but I tried and did not succeed in figuring out who made the figure. It just nobody who showcased the thing ever seemed to be interested in telling who made it, so if someone specific knows who made it, maybe you could mention it in the comments if you recognize it. I'm not doing one-to-one, so it might not be that recognizable. I'm just using a few ideas that they had. It looks better than the film version, in my opinion. It's just me. Not that the film version is bad or anything. I actually am one of those people who strongly advocates for SpaceGodzilla. He's greatly maligned by the masses of normies who consume Godzilla. They say he's stupid because he looks stupid. But when you get right down to it, all Godzilla monsters kind of look stupid. If you're using your basis of realism, I guess. I don't know what they're using as a basis. All Godzilla monsters look just a little bit silly. That's part of their charm. I think most of the monsters in the Heisei era were pretty good, as far as their designs were concerned. And SpaceGodzilla is one of them. I think the chest could use some pulling out. It looks a tad flat. Let's remove the mirror so we can see a little better what we're doing. I don't try to change the design of these characters too much if I think they're, like, you know, already good as is. I think SpaceGodzilla is a pretty strong design that doesn't need too much alterations. You know, it's just fun if you're an artist to make new things anyway, you know, even though they aren't necessarily needing to be remade. But I don't alter them a lot if I think they're, like, nearly perfect. A good example of this would be Kaiju. You know, people are like, well, you made all the other Mechagodzillas look a little bit different from what they actually look like. Why not him? It's like, well, it's because he really is just that good. I don't have any complaints with the design, so I don't necessarily have complaints with the others. I didn't really change Super Mechagodzilla that much. I was originally going to do something a bit more radical with him. I had a much more different design in mind, but then I was like, well, it kind of just ceases to be Super Mechagodzilla if you change it too much. I did add some things, of course, but I made him a little bit more faithful to his original design. Some of the monsters I really don't have any, inspiration whatsoever. Some of them I can interpret them in very new and unusual ways, and others I'm just like, well, objectively, Batterer is Batterer. I don't really know what to do. It would be different or better than what already exists. Better being a somewhat subjective thing in the case of, well, I mean, not entirely. But, like, I don't know if I could necessarily say that my redesigns of these creatures are always better than the original. They're just another thing. Oh, wait a minute. I think I'll do something different here. Let's try this. guess we also could sculpt inside of this thing. After all, it is kind of here. Go back to here. I want to add some things. There, I think that adds some character. Alright, let's get that. I want that same level of extra detail going on here. There we go. I think that's accommodating. Almost done with the chest. There will be modifications, of course. And now for the neck. I think I might have some ideas about the neck. Oh, something I would like to clarify. I don't know about if anybody watches every single thing that I say in all of my videos. I don't know if anybody actually listens to every single thing that I mumble while I'm making these things, but I went on a previous rant about copyright. And I don't know if I properly clarified this, but regardless of my opinions on copyright, you should always give credit to people who make things. Even if copyright didn't exist, I would still give credit to the original creators of, you know, whatever the thing was. Just to make doubly certain that that's clear. People have a tendency to misunderstand what I say. Perhaps it's poor communication skills. I'm not sure, but I've been heavily misunderstood in the past. I just wanted to be quite blatant about my meaning. Personally, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it might be... It is true that I sometimes have trouble finding the words to properly explain things, but I think it might actually be a issue on the other end where I think people just aren't really used to communicating in a specific manner. The communication kind of runs along very basic lines in the current setup, or zeitgeist, or whatever you want to call it. There's a specific way in which people communicate generally. And by happenstance, I don't really think I utilize that method very much, so... The way I talk may come across as a bit off-putting. I know one thing, I'm a big fan of bluntness. To a certain extent. There are limitations to bluntness, of course. But I find that there is a tendency for people to say that I am joking most of the time. They're like, oh, you're a troll. You're like, you can't be serious. It's like, I am serious. I think it might be that people are so tied up in not speaking their mind that when you finally do, it comes across as insincere. It's like, oh, well, you can't possibly be speaking your mind. If everybody spoke their mind unfiltered, it would all seem very trolly. Because in reality, we don't all have squeaky clean ideals now, do we? In reality, we all have these occasional bouts of, what is the word? Bad taste, or, people just aren't immaculate, you know? We don't all agree. And we don't all have these hyper-moralistic views of things. Let's just say that human thought is not PR-friendly. In the court of public opinion, we would all be hanged. Every single person, and I don't care who they are. Anybody who would not is pretending, I think. Everybody likes to think that they're, it's like, oh, I'm a good person. I never have bad ideas. And also, I never say bad things or think bad things about people. It's like, you do. At some point or another, you do. This idea, I don't know, I just think it's ridiculous to me. It's pretentious to think otherwise. It's pretentious to think that we are not all, human beings, obviously. We are fundamentally corrupt at our core. That's my opinion. You don't have to like it, and you can pretend, you can sit around and be like, oh, I'm a good person. I never say bad things. I never say bad words. I never think bad things, but you do. I'm not sure how you live with that. I'm not sure how you live with the cognitive dissonance involved. But so be it, if that's what you want to do. If you want to sit around and pretend that there's nothing wrong and that you don't ever make mistakes, that's all on you. I have noticed, though, if you're ever looking at these subjects of drama on YouTube, there's lots of, stories, so-and-so did this, and everyone is shocked that they did this. And then the person who's commenting on it, it'll be like, well, I'm different, I'm the different person. What they did was so messed up, and I couldn't believe that they did it. And then that later, like a year later, something comes out on the person who was making the video. It's like, oh, this, commentary creator, turns out they did something shocking and I can't believe they did it. And then the person who made that video on the person, then they have something come out about them and it turns out they did something shocking. It's like, when are you all going to learn that there's nothing shocking about you people doing this stuff? When are you going to learn that you're human beings and you're not representatives for a corporate firm? You are, of course, scandalous by nature because you're humans. It's ridiculous. And it will just go on and on. There'll always be a new one who's like, well, I'm not a sellout. I'm different from the rest. I'm not scandalous. I'm not this way. And it's like, oh, a year later, or sometime in the future. Actually, it turns out you were the same as everybody else. Turns out there isn't actually all that much difference. But yeah, that's why I prefer to be blunt, because I don't really care. Well, I mean, I do care to some degree. If you say too much, you could end up in a lot of trouble. Some things it's okay, you know, you can be blunt about a lot of subjects, like the weather and whatnot. But just don't be too blunt about too many different things. Eventually, you're going to step on someone's toes somewhere. But I always preferred being blunt. And I much enjoy the company of blunt people who don't really have to filter what they think or say. Even if it's negative. You know, someone could say, I don't like you, Jimmy, objectively. I don't like you. It's like, well, okay then. Whatever. What am I supposed to do about that? Besides, I don't really think I'm aiming for being liked, per se. Being liked, perhaps, is, what is the word? It's not that it's not flattering, you know, to have people like you, but, it ain't exactly the end-all be-all, shall we say. Plus, most of it is somewhat, what is the word? Fleeting and nebulous. It's like people like you, at least they think they like you. I don't think they really do, and for the most part. Like people who say, I really like George Clooney. It's like you don't actually know George Clooney. You just think you know him because you watched a bunch of his movies. And frankly, even if you did know George Clooney, even if you knew him intimately and knew all of his details and everything about his entire life, and even if you claimed to be his friend, I'm not exactly sure you actually like George Clooney. See, I think that there's a lot more to the depth of, what is it? Human association? Not sure what to call it. But I think a lot of people, you know, what they think on the surface is inaccurate. A lot of people think they are friends when they are actually not friends. A lot of people think that they are lovers who are not actually lovers. It's just generally how it works. Anyway, SpaceGodzilla. This conversation seems appropriate for SpaceGodzilla because SpaceGodzilla doesn't love anyone. Why? Probably because he's a big eyesore. I don't know. Just not a lovable character, I suppose. I imagine aliens probably like SpaceGodzilla because he's, you know, very handy. You don't have to go far to find someone to tear up the Earth for you if SpaceGodzilla's nearby. And pretty much all aliens, maybe there's an exception to the rule, but I'm not entirely aware of it. Pretty much all aliens in Godzilla want to destroy the Earth or plunder it or take it over. Something of that nature, so I'd say that pretty much universally most aliens probably do want to use SpaceGodzilla to conquer the Earth, if they knew of his existence even. Yes, I'm actually not sure if there ever has really been positive aliens in Godzilla. Like, have there ever been aliens that came to Earth and wanted to help instead of make things worse? I know there's been a few fake outs, like in Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, you know. The aliens pretended to be friendly to humanity. Before promptly revealing, you know, that they really didn't want to be friendly. I guess that it's true that in Godzilla movies, you know, where you want a lot of action, it's not really useful to have the aliens be good. However, you could have a plot where there's like a really dangerous space monster. It's like, oh, we need the aliens to help us take it down. And the alien's like, oh, everything has failed. None of our weapons work. And then Godzilla comes out and, of course, does this business. Not that he poops, but I mean he takes out the monster. Oh, wait a minute. I think there actually have been positive aliens. I remember one sort of example of it in Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. I'm pretty sure the aliens, you know, well, not the aliens. There's like one alien. She's like a alien in the body of a human or something like that. I don't know what it is. I forget, but she's technically good because she warns humanity about Ghidorah or Ghidorah or whatever you want to call him today. In the video game, they always called him Ghidorah. I always called him Ghidorah, so you know, to each their own, I suppose. I'm not a big fan of those, what do you call it? Sticklery people? There's people who are really like, you need to pronounce Ebra's name exactly as it was meant to be pronounced. It's like, it's more fun just to let people do whatever they want with that. I mean, it's not a real scientific classification. It's not like you're going to get kicked out of Harvard for pronouncing Ebra's name wrong. I think it's more fun to see the different, you know, the different ways people pronounce things. It's kind of like seeing different interpretations of the same, you know, image or picture. And it's fun. But I've heard that Ebra's name technically is pronounced Ebira. I think that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. But I much prefer Ebra or Ebira. Ebira has a nice ring to it. I know that they have a lot of different ways of pronouncing Anguirus. I've seen several different movies where they, you know, they use different names for them. The most common, you know, and probably the one I agree with, is Anguirus. I think that's pretty agreed upon, but sometimes they call him Angulus. Angulus has a certain appeal. It sounds kind of funny. Probably inaccurate, though. I mean, he's supposed to be an Ankylosaurus, not an Anglosaurus. If there even is such a thing as an Anglosaurus. I want to make a quick modification to this. Another one who, oddly enough, has a bunch of, what do you call it? Different pronunciations is Godzilla himself. Pretty sure there's some movie where they call him Godzilla. Or at least one character does. I don't know if you count that or not. But that's definitely a unique pronunciation of his name, I would say. There's also one movie, I think, where they call him Godzilla. Which, you know, if you're American like myself, that certainly does sound a lot like how someone from the South might pronounce it. But I'm pretty sure there's like an actual movie. I mean, it's an American dub, so they could be taking liberties, but they call him Godzilla. I rather like the American dubs. They're very fun. I mean, I know it's like... What would you call it? It's kind of bad, maybe. It's kind of technically bad in terms of it sounds, you know, kind of stiff and weird, but there's just something so fun about the bad dubbing. I don't know, maybe that's just me. It's weird, if you're someone who can't speak Japanese, you have no idea whether the acting in Godzilla movies is good or bad because you're not really familiar with inflections. I mean, I guess you could judge the facial expressions and whatnot, but you don't really have anything to go off of that would clue you in, like, oh, that sounds really stiff or weird, because you're not even familiar with the language. Which I am not, by the way. I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know what the heck, how to judge their performances. It's just kind of weird to think about that, you know, like, so much could be going under your nose. Like, you could be watching Plan 9 from outer space levels of acting and not even know it. Let's turn off this floor. It could get in the way. I know one thing, the tails take up a lot of thermo. Like, when all is said and done, I could Probably take a big chunk out of the thermo if a lot of these monsters didn't have tails. But you know, such is the sacrifice you have to make when adapting certain things. Dreams is very much a balancing act when it comes to the thermometer. It's like you just gotta kind of like, you know, judge what kind of game am I making, what will be necessary and what will be unnecessary. Cut out everything that is unnecessary and focus on what is, and you can devote a little extra thermo to that thing. You know, if it's really necessary for monsters to have tails, then you want to focus a little effort on putting the tails in, you know? If it's less necessary for monsters to have tongues, maybe don't put so much, you know, so much into detail or whatever into that particular subject. Although for display purposes, occasionally you might want to do that, you know. Even if you're technically never going to see Godzilla's tongue, it might be kind of neat to have it for, you know, if you want to get a screenshot of his mouth open or something. I don't tend to put tongues in my most recent monsters' mouths. I think there's a few exceptions. But, yeah, that's generally what I choose to do. Sometime we ought to make Godzilla, the Showa era Godzilla. Specifically the one with the goofy Kermit the Frog face. From the son of Godzilla, specifically. That one is pretty funny looking. Maybe we'll do a poll sometime and ask people, you know, what they prefer. You want him or you want something else? I know some people have been requesting Final Wars Godzilla. I do get a little bit tired of making Godzillas, just, I mean, I guess it comes with the, you know, comes with working on Godzilla in general. You're going to be making a lot of Godzillas just because he's been reinvented quite a few times. And I've made a few, you know, original Godzillas, if you can even call them original, but you know what I mean. A few Godzillas that technically aren't canon. Which I didn't have to make, but you know. Sometimes you just, if you have an idea, you gotta go with it. Well, I fear, even though we haven't finished the tale, we are out of time, so... Yes, that's a thing. Here are the names of all of our lovely cult supporters. Many thanks to all of you. If you'd like to get your name in those credits, check the link in the description and head over to our Ko-fi. You can become a cultist neophyte to become credited at the end of our video, or you can become an acolyte to gain early access to videos in addition to credit. Now, if you aren't in the mood for membership, you can always leave a one-time tip. If you enjoyed this video and are not already subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. And maybe give us a quick like, both options are free. Also, don't forget to ring the notification bell so you will always be notified when new videos come out. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions, leave them in the comments section. Or if you just want to let out your pent-up rage, give us some smack talk. Until next time, goodbye.